Just recently on the campus of UC Riverside, the latest in a series of confrontations organized by UC students against university officials occurred, with hundreds of students gathering together to make demands of the Board of Regents during their meeting on ongoing tuition hikes. We are here at the campus of UC Irvine interviewing students about whether they think student activism really works, what good student activism is, and when it's gone too far. See what they have to say right here on the Zotcast.
Definitely a proponent for student activism. I find that you need the youth to be more involved, especially when it comes to implementing change. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of the youth.
Like, it really works because when we really get down to it, when we hit hard and go to Congress up in Sacramento, and when we talk to administrators and we really fight for what we believe, I think it really does have an effect. For example, we were able to save the Cal Grants a couple years ago, and so that's a really great thing.
In this society, we're all constricted by bounds, and for anything to ever be done, you have to overstep boundaries, things to ever be done, honestly. Because the society is made up of all these restrictions, and we'll never get anywhere if no one oversteps boundaries.
The activism should be peaceful, it should be firm, but it should be peaceful. So I think activism that condones violence or is prone to violence is wrong, and I think it's important that we push our ideas forward in a manner that is peaceful. I think when we look at student activism in the past years, I think students have really become strategic and more thoughtful about what they wanted. Years before, it was a lot about screaming at the regents, about being angry at student fee increase, and we were angry with good reasons. But there was a time when we realized that wanting to keep the fees down and going to regents meeting and trying to start mass protest wasn't really working. Right. And so we're at a time when we're changing our framework, our way of thinking about student activism. No longer do we do a lot of protests. I mean, it's still a big part of our activism, but a lot more now we think strategically about what we want to do.
I've been teaching Hannah Arendt in the science fiction class, and one of the features of late 20th century depoliticization is the belief that if you don't politically participate, then you're above politics somehow, it doesn't affect you. And one of the things that's happened is when we don't participate and we don't activate ourselves, we leave politics to the most corrupt and opportunistic forces. And if there had been more vigilance, like through the past couple of decades in California, to deal with the tax code, to deal with the abandonment of the infrastructure as it's happened, maybe we wouldn't be where we are today. Maybe, there's a high price to be paid for political apathy.
I think when you go to UC Irvine, there's this stereotype, right, that students are apathetic or they don't care about politics, and I think it's a lie, right, because I think UC Irvine students have been part of a very much larger movement of student activism. And so we're seeing right now a trend where our students are getting involved in state politics and getting involved with matters and issues that really matter. For example, just recently, our Irvine students lobbied our local representative in passing AB 970, right, which would require the regents to give us 6 months in advance, a notification of 6 months in advance before they actually raise our fees.
The other thing is that there's just a lot of abuse of power and corruption throughout any large organization like the UC. And the more students educate themselves about what that means, how the medical schools operate in terms of taking funds from the main campus to fund sometimes very noble research, sometimes just huge salaries. All of these things are really important for students to understand. I think it's really important to just look at the really complicated pictures and not just say lower our tuition, but lower our tuition, change the way that things are done. Change the leadership if we have to. Instead of having these guys who are willing to chase the tail of anything that looks profitable, let's have some visionary leadership that thinks about, education as a public good, robust dialogue, research that enriches our lives on levels that are not just about the bottom line, but about understanding citizenship, political debate, things like that, and that are truly liberating and empowering forms of education that take those kinds of issues deeply seriously.